Well, a lot of us rightfully assumed it was an April Fool's joke, but squats are indeed making their long-awaited return to Warhammer 40k, and that little nugget just might have implications far outside the realm of tabletop gaming. To make it very clear at the start of the video, I do not think it's a coincidence at all that Darktide's release date was finally unveiled, and less than 24 hours later, the Leagues of Votann showed up to play. So let's get into it. First things first, Darktide has been MIA for a while now. There's been zero news forthcoming whatsoever. No gameplay, no screenshots, no details, nothing. Nada. Zilch. But the dam broke just a tiny bit on March 31st, when Fatshark announced that their 41st Millennium Vermintide title would be launching in September. I believe it's September 12th. Will that release date hold true? I have no idea. Delays are all too common now, and they don't necessarily lead to smooth launches anyway, but I figured for a while now that a Spring 22 launch was very ambitious and likely out of the realm of possibility, so Q3 it is, at least until further notice. In that release date trailer, which I honestly felt was a little bit underwhelming, we got another great look at the Hive City 4 as they play cards, with the Mushroom Cut Zealot, two representatives from the Imperial Guard, and everyone's favorite Abhuman Ogren, character I'm sure we will all grow to love and adore, especially if the writing is on par with Darktide compared to what it was in Vermintide. Even got a glimpse of a flamethrower by the foot of the Zealot class, so yeah, you'll be able to burn down hordes of Poxwalkers. Sounds pretty damn fun. Now, there's no explicit confirmation yet that Vermintide's class system will not be returning in Darktide, but we've been told by the devs not to expect it. So, at least for now, it seems unlikely that each of the playable characters will have 3 or 4 classes to choose from, and instead, the focus will be on a more robust suite of equipment and customization. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, because in the past, Fatshark have been reticent to add new characters to their IP, because it screws up the equilibrium of the Uberstrike 5, and there are so many barriers in terms of voice acting and writing in adding a new person to the squad. It's a lot of work to come up with an entirely new character and add them and all the interactions they could possibly have on every single level. So I'm perhaps a little bit nervous about what impact that will have on the game, because if they're not doing classes and entirely new character DLC is still off the table, then additional content that extends the life cycle of Darktide might be somewhat hard to come by. But then again, the arsenal from 40k is quite a bit more robust than it is in fantasy. There's more technology, more weapons, more gadgets, more stuff overall, so maybe just adding guns, weapons, and tech will be enough anyway. No matter what happens on that front, the big question on many of our minds right now, when it comes to Darktide, is whether the current cast of 4 is the final squad, or if there's indeed a 5th playable character yet to be revealed. And that's not a stupid question, because this game will essentially be Vermintide in space, and Vermintide 1 and Vermintide 2 both had 5 playable characters. From what I understand, that was an intentional design decision, so that if your favorite character was taken when you joined a lobby, you would still have the choice of 2 others, and from a gameplay perspective, it allows for greater choice and strategery when building your team comp. Which character can you live without? And in my opinion, I think it would be strange to deviate from that established blueprint. So then that begs the question, why hasn't the 5th character been unveiled yet? We've seen 4 on the announcement art, in the opening trailer, everywhere. In every single piece of news they've released, we've seen 4 characters, not 5. Well, there's a lot of potential reasons for that. One of the most obvious, of course, is that a 5th character simply does not exist. And that is entirely possible, make no mistake. They could have just decided against it for budgetary or other reasons we don't know, but that's the most boring possible outcome and perhaps the most damaging as well. And if Fatshark had already come out and confirmed only 4 playable homies, there'd be nothing to discuss here. They could be hanging on to that 5th reveal because there is an unannounced character, and it could have nothing to do with SQUATS or the Leagues of Votann whatsoever. Could be another similarly hype reveal that they just want to hold on to until we're a little bit closer to launch. But right now, my thinking is that Fatshark and Games Workshop have been in communication, they coordinated reveals, and that at some undisclosed time in the near future, the 5th Darktide character will be unveiled, and he will be a space dwarf, a squat from the Leagues of Votann, or as they call each other, kin. Although their civilization shares common roots with humanity, the Leagues of Votann have an uneasy relationship with the Imperium, but unlike their superstitious human cousins, the Leagues emerged from the Age of Strife with far more of their ancient technology intact. including some infamous advances the Imperium would consider extremely heretical. That, by itself, has some pretty interesting implications for potential futures in both video game form and on the tabletop, and I can't wait to see exactly what they're talking about on that front. But their knack for science and headstrong nature make for skilled warriors backed up by reliable weaponry, and while there's no love lost between the Leagues of Votann and humankind, the resurgence of chaos and ascendant Xenos hordes across the galaxy mean there are usually more pressing concerns than fighting each other. Usually. Leagues of Votann are coming to Warhammer 40,000 later this year, but there are still a few solid months to go before we get a good look at their advanced force, but in the meantime, there will be a huge amount of info about the new faction and their place in the 41st millennium. So yeah, SQUATS are coming back, and they look really cool. I'm a fan. But why do I think the 5th character in Darktide has at least a decent probability of being a space dwarf? Well, for one, they already have the mechanics and combat style of a Warhammer dwarf mapped onto their combat system in Vermintide, with Barden, of course, and he serves as a wonderful blueprint for any stunty little grudge gnome character making his way into 40k. The movement, the perspective, that low-to-the-ground camera angle, and the general writing for Barden and the persona that he exhibits all make a lot of sense in 40k as well. Won't be a one-to-one translation, obviously, it won't be the same person, but still gives them a massive head start on that 5th character. Number 2, space dwarfs just kind of work in co-op shooters, right? Deep Rock Galactic is a perfect example of that. It's been emerging as a competitor to Vermintide in recent years, and it's just a really damn good game. Their banter, their playstyle, all of it makes for a really entertaining experience. And if my theory is correct here, Fatshark would not have been able to unveil their 5th character yet, as part of their contract and partnership with Games Workshop, who would of course have wanted to save the big squat reveal for themselves first. Showing up in a Darktide early trailer would have spoiled all their fun. So what would a squat character from the League of Votann look like in Darktide? What kind of weapons and equipment could we expect? We don't know what all their new technology will be accompanying them in this new lore, of course, and I think it's safe to say that there will be lots of new options never before seen in 40k. But I also don't think this will be a full retcon, and much of their previous gear and weaponry will carry over as well. Just like humans, because they are abhumans with a long history of trade between the two kingdoms, they can wield anything from auto guns to flamethrowers, las guns, bolt guns, melt guns, plasma weaponry, conversion beamers, chain swords, power hammers, the standard 40k fare. Flak armor, carapace armor, and whatever space void armor power suits they're wearing in this trailer are all things they could be wearing for protection. And this is really the aesthetic I would expect to see right here, because if we get a squat in Darktide, it will be with all the modern trappings, bells, and whistles, the general look and feel that Games Workshop is working towards with this new release. Much of their unique weaponry in the old lore came in the form of vehicles, artillery pieces, and fortification defense, like the Goliath Mega Cannon, squat bikes, gyrocopters, the Colossus, Leviathan, and the Mole Burrowing Transport. Gonna be difficult to fit that into a game like Darktide. Wouldn't expect to see any of that, and I will readily admit I am not an expert on squat lore, and looking into their standard trooper kit today, I wasn't able to find anything much about weaponry or equipment that is completely unique to them as a race, something that a standard foot trooper would be carrying into battle, in the same way that a D-cannon or shuriken catapult is unique to Eldar, or that a Gauss cannon is unique to Necron. So while there are tons of options in the standard 40k arsenal for them to use, and they'd have a ton of variety on that front, a squat character could be incredibly cool in Darktide, because we'd likely be seeing some new toys never represented in any visual medium before. What exactly that would entail, I'll leave up to you guys to decide. I don't know exactly, and I think that's part of what makes this so exciting. Getting to see some Vortex weaponry or some Age of Strife shit unique to the League of Votann would be really freaking cool. So like I said, no guarantees this is happening, but I don't believe in coincidences like this one. I think it's just a little bit too past the pale to say, oh yeah, we're gonna release the Darktide trailer and talk about its full launch date, and then less than 24 hours later, squats show up too. Like, that just seems a little bit too hand in hand, I would say. And I think Fatshark will have some very interesting reveals in the coming months, particularly as it pertains to the playable characters and weaponry in Darktide. So, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all in the next video. Indie Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.